add site. And all of a sudden it asks me to choose a theme, just like a kid would do. They just go down, have a look at the ones they like. We'll just pick the first one here. Choose that as my Weebly theme for this particular new class or portfolio assignment. That's what they'll be working with. And it gives you a box that will tell you to set up a domain site. And I typically just tell them to make it exactly the same as their Jeju account so they'll remember it. But of course they can use anything for that site. Okay, so we'll just get off that and we'll actually have a look at how did we build or edit this particular class. So if you notice, this is just my main page. It has a few things that of course I've linked that are important in French. Things of course to my Google Classroom, things like word reference and translation things. There's a program called Duolingo. Just explains it here. I've just put in text boxes. I can link to Kahoot or Powtoon. We'll talk about that at the end. So that's just a few things that are posted on my web page, my Weebly site. So I'll just show you how I built that or put that into here. And all I've done is clicked on the Weebly site and gone into edit. You notice I've put things in here like text boxes or headliners, all these different types of things. And pretty easy to just drag and drop. Like I said, I can put pictures or images in here. When I hover over it, you can see the outline of the blue. It actually gives you options to do things in here. I can put pages, that's what these are up top, these headers here, or even a blog. This is an assignment, we'll talk about it in a second. Some of the tools here, when you're editing this stuff or building, like I said, is a title box. You just literally need to drag it, drop it, put it somewhere on the page, and it'll open up so that you can put into some text or whatever you want in a position on the page. I can click on some of this stuff. You can change fonts. You can look at different colors perhaps. You can even link it to anything you want as well. You can include things like maps, buttons that are for linking stuff. Up to you how you want to create it. Let's just look at another tab here in the main headings. Some of the pages. So these pages are, in my French class, just particular chapters or units. We've just looked at Unit 4, for example. I'm just going to click on it. It's something I created here by adding a page. I clicked on that and I made it Unit 4 as its own page. And in this page, we're going to be using this for assignments or discussion questions or whatever we want for particular Unit 4, which is in French, in this chapter, is at school. In here, as a teacher, I could be manipulating this stuff, text boxes or images. I put some instructions here about assignment 1. I could make details that are linked. I could make a rubric that's also linked to a Google Doc if I want, in order for them to just click on and look at as a student. Okay, I could upload different images, maybe an example assignment would be good. We have other units as well. I'm just going to click over to Unit 6. This one happens to be on different places in the world that they need to know in French, where you're from. And I believe in this one, I put clothing for that particular unit. And here's their first assignment. And if you notice, when I'm making these pages, I made that assignment called Tout sur moi. It's all about myself. So I put an example on my own Weebly that they can have a look at to do with things of who I am. I've inserted a picture, some text, put in the French there about who I am, and some things that I'm about. So a fisherman, I'm soccer, I like to go to the gym. I've explained all this in French. This is what I'm expecting them to do as far as their assignment is concerned. And I've explained this on my Google Classroom. I've linked the explanations inside of a Google Doc. Plenty of options as to where they can get the instructions for this. If you notice on this left-hand side, the student assignment pull down menu is under my Tout sur moi assignment. We just have that as itself the student assignment. So here, by clicking on that, it will tell you the instructions that are for this particular assignment. When a kid goes to it in the actual Weebly, and I'm just going to go back there for a second. They click on here, they go on student assignment, and they hover over my picture. This will be linked to my Google Docs for the instructions on this assignment. Back in my Creator, I've also included a button now that will link right to my grading rubric. So if I go back to that in here and I click on it, kind of cool and interesting, that opens to a Google Doc where I could now install a particular grading rubric. There's a couple different ways you could do that. You don't have to put a button. Button is just what I chose, what you see there. You could also just use text that becomes highlighted when you insert a link on the Creator. So if I go back into this, the way I created that was just to go to build. I chose a button. I inserted the button there. But you could also just take a text box, pull it over, drag and drop. Text box will show up. Takes a second to load sometimes. But once it comes in, I can add my text into that space where it says click here to edit. Add in some text that says assignment rubric. And now make that a hyperlink. Now I can take those words, copy and paste, and actually insert it as a link, which comes in here. Website URL, click on that, make that my Google Doc, copy and paste it, and then all of a sudden we have a link to by just simply hovering over it in the actual website. We won't go into that, but it's just an example there. So lots of things you can manipulate inside of there. So just to show you exactly how you can be consistent between Google Classroom and Weebly, just looking at the student assignment and the instructions, so the kids have no excuses as to where they're going to find the instructions. If you just click on the picture that I have embedded here, this actually will take you from their site to the Google Doc that gives you an explanation of this particular assignment. Walks you through what they want to include, age, birthday, etc. For that particular information. Just close that off. The other way that they can get there, just to show you from Google Class, is I also have it linked on my Google Class. And there again, same document, exactly what they're going to find for instructions with regards to this particular assignment. So that was the second assignment that they would be doing in my class. First one was just fact that they were building their own Weebly. So we showed you how to build that Weebly, like I said, in the Weebly Creator, and all kinds of tools that are included in here, and all the different pages, put you to a home page, and again, you can manipulate this, put anything you want in here. It's really user-friendly. That's the advantage of Weebly. Super compatible with Google Classroom, but just the fact that, like, when I even did this to build it myself, to learn about how to do it, I'm not an expert, and this didn't take me a whole lot of time just to go through, just as we've done in Keith's class with Moodle, looking at different things that we've created with our blog. You know, just learning it like that should be very straightforward for any kid to use, for sure, with Weebly. So, looking at both my French class on Google or on the Weebly, you can see that these things are totally connected. Now I just want to talk about the fact that when a kid actually submits work, so like I said, I have one student that in this site you can see has done this particular assignment, and it tells me, which is great. They are lazy and didn't do their Weebly yet, and that's okay. We mention it to them. They don't have any excuses for not getting it done, so we'll get on it. We'll get them to do it for sure. This one that they're done, if I just click on done, there is their assignment handed in. Okay, I can look at, like I said, grading it or whatever, but when I actually click on their assignment, this is great. So it takes me right to their Weebly site. For when they need to submit it, all they have to do is basically link it to my Google Classroom. When they're on Google Classroom, the student, not the teacher, gets a a place in which they can actually click the link from their Weebly. So I'll just show you where they would be. So if they're on their assignment, up top here, you just take the URL site and you copy and paste it, and they'll be given the option back in Google Classroom to submit it, and all they got to do is click a link, and this is what shows up in the teacher box. So I've clicked on their assignment. Here it is. They've set up their headings. They got their name like they're supposed to. They've changed their theme. Excellent work. Here's their first assignment. Wow. They've put in all the elements. They look at some of the French stuff that the person likes to do. They've included some really great things about, information about themselves. Everything that the assignment was asking them to do. Show that they like to travel and do yoga. Pretty cool stuff. They've incorporated pictures. Obviously the student's on top of their game. They put in some pages. They haven't manipulated this stuff, but that's the point of the portfolio, is that when they get assignments and things like that, they're able to now start putting this stuff in, and it'll always be there for them. So that's the reason they have this as a portfolio. That's the reason you're using Weebly as a site. Pretty cool for them to be able to get the immediate feedback, for them to be able to see their site. It's interactive. They can collaborate with other students, especially if they're adding Google Docs. That's all a great thing in order to see when they're collaborating or collecting information for the student and the teacher, and the fact that it's all compatible. They don't have to use Microsoft Word. That might not be compatible. It all links together in here very easily, and that's sort of the purpose of using Weebly in connection with Google Classroom. So, just to finalize and to think about some questions in regards to this, of course I want to hear any questions or feedback that you have about using this stuff. I hope you have learned some interactive ways and the compatibility nature of the power of Weebly and Google Classroom, and how those can be used for you and your students, and what the advantages and disadvantages might be. And I just wanted to quickly talk about those disadvantages. Of course, they're the usual. Once you have a whole classroom, you can talk about Wi-Fi and things like even your battery powers dying on your device, whether or not they're using their own device or a school device. The Wi-Fi might be down in the school. Of course, you're just your regular type things to do with technology in itself. You may, of course, lose a document or something because something's going on with the Wi-Fi system or something like that. But the beauty of Google and Google applications, usually that stuff can be found. So there are some good advantages in that way. But not a lot of downfall to these sites. And the big one is that they're free, right? Weebly's a free thing, and once they have their Jeju account, of course that's free to students as well. But the accessibility is excellent as well. So I think that's basically it. And we'll hopefully hear some questions and some feedback from you guys. A couple things I wanted to ask you is, I wanted to know how many people, of course, have a Jeju account. Is that easy for you to get set up in your own district? Have you used this stuff before? And if not, why not? Would you tell other people on your staff about this, and how would you possibly explain it? Hopefully you found my explanation fairly simple. And what do you think some advantages are to using this type of technology in the class? Obviously I've mentioned a few, but you're obviously going to be able to think of a few more. Perhaps you can tell us that. Thanks. Have a good day.